Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract success effortlessly, while others chase it for years and never get close? What if the real secret isn't in doing more, but in becoming more? And here's the question that changes everything. Are you the kind of person who can truly handle what you're asking for? Success isn't something you run after. It's something you naturally attract by the kind of person you become. Let that sink in. Success doesn't chase people. It responds to who you are. And it's worth repeating, success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract through growth, character, and personal transformation. Too many people go through life repeating the same words. I want this. I want that. But what they often fail to realize is that wanting alone is never enough. They're not becoming the kind of person who can actually sustain the things they say they want. That right there is the missing link. The marketplace doesn't reward hopes and dreams. It rewards value. And in order to receive more, you must become more valuable. Life doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to action. It responds to character. It responds to who you're becoming when no one is watching. I remember a young man who came to me years ago. He was smart, full of big dreams and bold ambition. Mr. Rohn, he said, I want to be a millionaire. I looked at him and asked, are you willing to become a millionaire? He paused, clearly confused. You see, wanting $1 million is very common. But becoming the kind of person who attracts $1 million? That's rare. That's where the real work begins. Let me pass on something my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, shared with me when I was just 25. He said, Jim, if you want to have more, you must become more. At first, it seemed simple. But over time, I realized it was one of the most profound truths I'd ever heard. This principle doesn't only apply to money. It stretches into every corner of life. Health, relationships, spirituality, career, and more. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Let's take health as an example. So many people say they want to be healthy. But wanting health means nothing if you're not willing to become someone who makes healthy decisions consistently, every single day. They crave the outcome, but they reject the discipline. And that's not how life works. The body keeps perfect records. It doesn't care about your wishes. It responds to your habits, your patterns, and your choices, made day after day. And the same goes for relationships. I've met countless people who say they want an amazing marriage. They long for love, respect, and understanding. But here's the question. Are they giving love, showing respect, and offering understanding? Most of the time, no. They expect to receive what they themselves aren't willing to give. You see, in every part of life, one truth holds steady. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. This is why personal development is absolutely essential. It's the foundation for everything you want to attract. It's not just about learning new skills. It's about becoming someone different through the process of change, not chance. When you begin working on yourself, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, everything around you starts to shift. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you've grown strong enough to handle it better. Your personal growth always comes before your financial growth. Your spiritual growth lays the groundwork for your ability to serve others meaningfully. And your intellectual growth, it's what gives you the mental strength to solve bigger, more complex problems that others shy away from. Let me share a real example. I once knew two salespeople working for the exact same company. They had the same training, same product, same territory, and nearly identical opportunities. One was making over $100,000 a year. The other struggled to earn even $25,000. So what was the difference? It wasn't in their goals. They both wanted success. The difference was in their personal development. One of them was constantly reading, learning, sharpening his craft, and looking for ways to improve. The other was simply showing up and going through the motions, waiting for something to change without changing himself. One became valuable. The other remained stagnant. Here's the truth. The world doesn't pay you for what you know. It pays you for what you do with what you know. The real value lies not in the information itself, but in the transformation it sparks when applied. Knowledge alone isn't power. Applied knowledge is. When you start applying what you learn, something shifts, not just in what you do, but in who you become. And as you become more, you start attracting more. It's a natural consequence of growth. Now, let's talk about your personal philosophy, because that's where everything begins. The way you think shapes your attitude. That attitude then influences your actions. Your actions determine your results. And ultimately, your results define your lifestyle. All of it starts with what's going on in your mind. If you believe success is about luck, you'll wait for it. If you believe it's about circumstances, you'll blame your situation when things go wrong. But if you understand that success is built through personal development, through becoming, you'll take ownership of your growth. And that's when real transformation begins. Here's something I want you to write down and reflect on. The great challenge of life is to become as valuable as you possibly can, because the marketplace only rewards extraordinary results. It doesn't reward average, but it pays generously for excellence. Years ago, I used to ask, how can I make more money? But over time, I realized I was asking the wrong question. The better question, the one that changed everything, was, how can I become more valuable? And once I focused on becoming more, my income didn't just increase by accident. It began to grow with purpose and momentum. But here's the key. Success doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. Take a moment to think about it. The highest paid individuals in any profession aren't just lucky. They're the ones who consistently deliver the most value. They solve the toughest problems. They serve the greatest number of people, and they do it with excellence. It's really not that complicated, but it does require a complete shift in thinking from how can I get more to how can I become more. This is where many people get lost. They assume that if they just want something badly enough, if they visualize it intensely, it will eventually show up. Now, there's some truth in the power of desire and visualization. Those tools matter, but they're only part of the story. The real power comes when you align your desire with action and your vision with value creation. Desire without development is just fantasy. Visualization without preparation is simply daydreaming. Wishing might make you feel hopeful, but it doesn't change your circumstances. What changes reality? Becoming. I still remember when I first encountered this principle. Back then, I was working at a department store, earning minimum wage, barely making ends meet. Of course, I had dreams. I wanted a better future for my family. I longed for financial freedom and hoped to make a real impact. But here's the truth. I was going about it the wrong way. I kept asking for more money without increasing my value. I wanted promotions without sharpening my skills. I was wishing for success, but I hadn't yet become successful in my mindset, habits, and behavior. Then something, or rather, someone, changed everything. Mr. Schoaf entered my life and completely flipped my thinking. Or perhaps it's more accurate to say, he set it up right. He taught me a life-altering principle. The secret to having more is becoming more. He opened my world to books, ideas, and a new way of thinking. And as I began to grow internally, developing new skills, new habits, new perspectives, my external world began to shift. My income rose, not by chance, but because I had changed. As I grew, my circumstances followed. Let me ask you a few simple questions. If you took better care of your body, what would happen? Your health would improve. If you developed more relevant skills, what would you gain? More opportunities. And if you became more loving, patient, and empathetic, what would happen to your relationships? They'd deepen and strengthen. None of this is magic. It's cause and effect. The law is simple. You don't get what you want. You get what you deserve. And you deserve what you're willing to become. That's why personal development isn't just helpful. It's absolutely essential for living a successful and meaningful life. Let me give you a story that brings this point home. Imagine two farmers facing a long, hard drought. Both prayed for rain, but only one of them went out to prepare his land. He tilled the soil, removed the rocks, and planted the seeds. The other? He just prayed and waited. Now, when the rain finally came, who do you think harvested a crop? It was the farmer who prepared, the one who acted, the one who became ready before the opportunity arrived. Wanting the rain isn't enough. You gotta prepare for it. Wanting success won't bring it. You've got to work for it. Become the person who's ready when the opportunity finally shows up. Preparation is about more than just planning. It's about becoming. Becoming more skilled, becoming more knowledgeable, becoming more disciplined, and ultimately, becoming more valuable to the people around you and to the world at large. Now, let's address something that might feel a little uncomfortable, but it's absolutely vital to understand. You are, at this very moment, the result of your choices. Not your intentions, not your hopes, not your wishes, but your daily decisions and the actions you've chosen to take or avoid. Every single day, you're shaping who you are. Think about it. The books you choose to read or not read. The conversations you engage in or avoid. The disciplines you commit to or neglect. The risks you take or refuse to take. All of these small choices add up. They stack, compound, and accumulate into the person you become. And here's the truth. It's not your dreams or desires that are creating your reality. It's who you are right now that determines the quality of your life. That's the person who's attracting your current circumstances. Let that thought sit with you for a moment. If you're not satisfied with the life you're living, the answer isn't to wish for something better. It's to become someone better. That might sound like tough love, but it's actually a powerful realization because it means you're not stuck. You're not at the mercy of luck or outside forces. Your future lies in your hands. You don't control everything that happens to you. No one does. But you absolutely control how you respond. You control whether you grow, whether you rise, whether you push yourself to become more. That growth, that inner development, that consistent response to life, that's what shapes your destiny more than anything else. I've witnessed this principle play out again and again in my own life and in the lives of countless others. When people stop blaming, stop waiting, and start taking full responsibility for who they're becoming, something shifts. Success stops feeling like a mystery and starts becoming the natural outcome of aligned effort and character. Here's an exercise I want you to try. Grab a piece of paper and draw a line down the center. On the left side, write down everything you want, your goals, your dreams, your desired outcomes. Then on the right side, write down the kind of person you need to become in order to attract and sustain those things. Now here's the key. Pour your energy into that right side. That's where the transformation happens. That's where your future takes shape. If you want a $1 million income, you need to become a $1 million person. If you're looking for an extraordinary relationship, you must first become an extraordinary partner. If you desire vibrant health, you have to become someone who lives and breathes healthy choices. In every case, the becoming must come before the having. And this doesn't just apply to the obvious areas of life. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to attract drama? Others constantly attract new opportunities. Some seem to draw loyal friendships, while others can't escape cycles of struggle. Why is that? It's not about what people want. It's about who they've become. The person constantly surrounded by drama likely doesn't want more drama in their life. But through their thoughts, their habits, their choices, they've become someone who unconsciously invites it in. On the other hand, the person who consistently attracts opportunity doesn't just sit around hoping for it. They become someone who recognizes opportunity, creates it, and acts on it when others hesitate. The individual with deep, lasting friendships isn't just wishing for loyalty. They become loyal. They show up, they listen, they support, and as a result, that's what they draw back into their lives. Your being precedes your having. That's a principle worth repeating. You attract not what you wish for, but what you are. But let's be clear, this doesn't mean you should stop having desires. Far from it. Desires matter. They're the spark, the starting point, the driving force behind your ambition. But that's just it. They're only the beginning. The journey to success isn't about wishing harder. It's about letting those desires push you to become someone greater, someone who can handle, sustain, and multiply what they're aiming for. Your desires should ignite your development. And when your development gains momentum, your results begin to reflect that internal shift. That's where the transformation happens. I remember speaking with a young entrepreneur. She was smart, driven, and full of vision, but frustrated. Her business wasn't growing as quickly as she had hoped. She showed me her vision boards, her affirmations, her goals, all tools of positive thinking. But something still wasn't clicking. So I asked her a simple question. What kind of person could run the business you dream of? She paused, then started listing traits. Someone knowledgeable about the industry, financially savvy, a confident leader, a strong communicator, disciplined, and persistent. I nodded and asked, "And how many of those qualities have you already developed within yourself?" There was silence. A long one. That moment hit her hard. She realized that she had been pouring energy into what she wanted, but very little into who she needed to become to make it happen. That single shift in focus changed everything. She began investing in herself. She enrolled in business courses, sharpened her financial skills, studied marketing strategies, hired a leadership coach, and built habits that supported her long-term vision. She didn't just work on the business, she worked on herself. And as she grew, so did her business. Not because her goals changed, but because she did. The person she became was capable of building what she had only dreamed of before. Now, I want to clear up a common misconception. When people hear the phrase, "you attract what you are," they sometimes think it means they need to be perfect before they can succeed. That's not true, not at all. None of us are perfect. We're all a work in progress. But the key isn't the progress. It's not about perfection. It's about direction, intention, and who you're steadily becoming day by day. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about progress. It's about becoming just a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Success doesn't simply show up at your door. You don't sit still and wait for it. You move toward it. And the way you move toward it is by growing into the kind of person who can hold it, handle it, and sustain it. Every book you choose to read, every skill you decide to develop, every discipline you commit to, these are all steps. They may seem small at the time, but they build the path toward becoming the person who naturally attracts the life you desire. Now, let's pause and talk about wealth for a moment, because when people hear about attraction, their minds often jump straight to money. But wealth isn't just about dollars or bank accounts. True wealth is about value, about the impact and contribution you make in the lives of others. The more value you bring to the table, the more wealth you're capable of attracting. But here's the catch. You can only create value to the level of your own personal development. So, if you're aiming to be wealthy, don't just chase money. Ask yourself deeper questions. What kind of value am I creating for others? How many people am I serving? How well am I solving real problems? Then turn your focus inward. Work on becoming the kind of person who can offer more value, serve more people, and tackle bigger challenges with clarity and confidence. One of the things I often tell people is this. If you want to reach success faster, stop chasing shortcuts. Replace the mindset of expediency with a commitment to excellence. Don't look for hacks. Don't look for the quickest way. Look for the best way. Why? Because in the real world, the marketplace doesn't reward mediocrity. It rewards mastery. I remember speaking to a room full of salespeople once. They were eager, motivated, and all asking the same question. What's the best script? What's the magic closing line? Everyone wanted that secret trick, but I told them something that caught them off guard. The most powerful closing technique isn't a line or a phrase. It's caring. When you genuinely care about your customer, when you truly understand their needs, when you know your product and believe in the solution you're offering, then the sale becomes a natural outcome. But here's the key. You can't fake that. You can't pretend to care. You have to become someone who truly does. That means becoming more empathetic, more knowledgeable, more solution-oriented. It's the becoming that empowers the doing and ultimately the having. This principle also explains why so many lottery winners or sudden inheritors of wealth end up losing it all. It's not because they didn't want the money. They certainly did. But they hadn't become the kind of person who knew how to manage it, grow it, and sustain it. They experienced the having without the becoming. And as a result, it didn't last. Contrast that with people who lose everything and then rebuild from the ground up. They don't stay down. Why? Because their wealth wasn't just in their bank account. It was in their identity. They had already become someone capable of creating wealth. So even when external circumstances stripped it away, they built it again because the ability lived inside them. And this isn't just about money. The same principle applies to relationships. Some people ask why they can't seem to find a great partner. They often have a long checklist. Someone kind, intelligent, funny, attractive. But what they overlook is this simple truth. They haven't yet become the kind of person who would naturally attract someone with those qualities. It's not about wishing harder or searching longer. It's about reflecting inward. Like attracts like. That's a law of nature, not just relationships. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Over the years, I've noticed something truly fascinating. When people start to genuinely work on themselves, when they begin becoming more patient, more kind, more focused, more skilled, something begins to shift. The things they used to chase start showing up with less resistance. It's almost as if the universe isn't responding to their desire, but to their development. But here's the twist. By the time those things arrive, something else has changed. They have. Their perspective, their priorities, their sense of what really matters. It evolves. And because of that growth, what they want often changes too. They begin to desire not just more, but better. That's the magic of personal development. It doesn't just help you attract the things you once longed for. It helps you refine your vision. It lifts your expectations. It reshapes what you truly value. Let me share a personal story. Early in my career, my biggest goal was simple. Make enough money to pay the bills without constant stress. That was it. Just stay afloat. But as I started to immerse myself in personal growth, reading books, studying successful people, building skills, something unexpected happened. I started making more than enough to cover my basic needs. And when that happened, my focus began to shift. I stopped thinking about survival and started thinking about legacy. My goals evolved from paying bills to building wealth, from avoiding lack to creating abundance. I started thinking about how I could make a real difference, how I could leave something meaningful behind. As I became more, my desires matured. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. You don't just want more stuff. You start wanting better impact, better contribution, deeper purpose. It's a natural evolution when growth becomes your lifestyle. Now, I know some of you might be wondering something. Maybe you're thinking, Jim, this all sounds good in theory, but what about the things I can't control? What about the economy, my upbringing, the lack of opportunities in my environment? Those are fair questions, important ones. And yes, external circumstances do play a role. Some people start out with clear advantages. Others are faced with serious obstacles and barriers that seem unfair. I don't deny that. Life isn't always a level playing field. But here's what I've discovered over time. While your circumstances might shape your starting point, they don't have to dictate your destination. Your becoming is more powerful than your circumstances. No matter where you start, who you choose to become has the ability to override, reshape, and even elevate your environment. I've watched people rise from the most modest beginnings. Individuals who had every reason to stay stuck, yet they achieved extraordinary success. Why? Because they committed to personal growth. They invested in their character, their mindset, and their habits. I've also seen others face overwhelming adversity, loss, hardship, failure. And instead of letting those circumstances crush them, they used the experience to become stronger, wiser, more resilient. They didn't let their situation define them. It was their response that made all the difference. And here's a truth worth holding on to. You may not be able to control what happens to you, but you can absolutely control who you become in response. And who you become will shape what you attract next into your life. Take a moment to let that settle. Even when life throws you off course, even when your plans unravel, you still have a choice. You can choose to respond with growth or with resentment. Will you let a setback make you bitter, or will you let it make you better? Will you respond as a victim, or will you rise as a victor? Will you give up or grow up? These choices, these small internal shifts, are more important than the circumstances themselves, because they're what determine what happens next in your journey. They're what shape your future. Let me share a principle that has guided me for decades, the principle of service. The more you give, the more you receive. The more value you create for others, the more value inevitably flows back into your life. Maybe not instantly, maybe not from the same people, but over time, it always finds its way back. This is a perfect demonstration of the you attract what you are principle in action. When you genuinely become a giver, you attract abundance. When you consistently become valuable to others, you begin to draw value into your own life. When you become someone who solves problems, opportunities tend to find their way to you. It's not magic. It's not mysticism. It's simple cause and effect. What you put into the world tends to return, often multiplied. But there's one crucial point. You can't fake it. You can't give just to get. You can't serve others just to be seen. That kind of performance might impress on the surface, but it doesn't attract lasting success. Why? Because it's not about what you do once. It's about who you are consistently. Your motives matter. They shape your character, not just your behavior. And in the long run, You attract based on your being, not your pretending. Now, let's look at another critical layer of this principle: your environment. Specifically, the people you surround yourself with, the information you take in, the people you engage with, and even the places you choose to spend time in. All of these elements shape who you become. And who you become, in turn, determines what you attract. If you want to grow into a successful person, start by surrounding yourself with those who have already built success. If you want to become more positive, choose to spend time with people who lift you up rather than pull you down. If you want to gain knowledge, immerse yourself in environments filled with ideas, insight, and wisdom. Your environment may not be everything, but it plays a critical role in shaping your path. I've always said you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Why? Because those people directly influence your thoughts, your mindset, your beliefs, and your standards. They shape your behaviors. They nudge your habits. Over time, they either raise or lower the person you're becoming. And since your becoming defines your attracting, your environment deeply matters. So take a real, honest look around you. Is your environment supporting the kind of person you want to become? Are you surrounded by people who stretch your thinking, challenge your limits, and hold you to higher standards? Are you consistently exposed to information that fuels your growth? Are your experiences helping you expand your capabilities? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to make some intentional changes. Now, let's talk about something many people overlook: patience. Becoming takes time. It's not something that happens in a week or even a month. It's a process of daily decisions, daily habits, small improvements repeated with discipline. Real transformation isn't dramatic, it's gradual. Don't expect to wake up tomorrow a completely new person. But also, don't underestimate the power of one focused year, or even 5, to completely reshape your identity in your life. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can do in one day, and just as dramatically underestimate what they can become in 1 year. Be patient with the process, but be absolutely relentless in your commitment to it. Becoming isn't about bursts of inspiration or grand declarations. It's about showing up every day and choosing growth over comfort, progress over excuses. And let me be clear, the goal is not to become someone else. It's to become the best version of yourself. You already possess unique gifts, talents, and insights. Personal development isn't about replacing who you are. It's about refining and enhancing what already exists within you. It's about becoming the person you were meant to be all along. As you step into that version of yourself, something remarkable happens. You begin to attract circumstances, people, and opportunities that match your growth. Not because you're manipulating the universe, but because you're aligning yourself with its principles. You're stepping into the natural rhythm of progress, contribution, and fulfillment. Let me share something powerful with you. The moment you decide to take full responsibility for who you're becoming is the moment you begin to take control of what you attract. Not total control. Life will always throw in a few surprises, but meaningful, substantial control. Enough to rewrite your story. I've watched this happen again and again. People who were struggling financially didn't just become wealthy by finding a better job. They became more skilled, more disciplined, more valuable. People with broken relationships didn't just fix them with communication techniques. They became more loving, more forgiving, more generous. People with health issues didn't just change their diets. They became more consistent, more aware, more self-caring. The inner shift always precedes the outer shift. The becoming always comes before the having. Growth on the inside lays the foundation for transformation on the outside. So, as we begin to wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Something practical, something that could spark real clarity. Take out a sheet of paper. Yes, right now if you can. And write at the very top: to have what I want, I need to become. Now that you've written to have what I want, I need to become, take it a step further. Make a list, an honest, detailed list of the qualities, skills, mindsets, habits, and personal characteristics you need to develop in order to truly step into that next version of yourself. Don't just write down what sounds good or what others might expect. Be real. Be specific. What do you actually need to work on? Is it discipline, emotional resilience, financial literacy, clear communication? Identify it. Once you have that list, prioritize it. Ask yourself, what's the one quality that, if strengthened, would create the biggest breakthrough in your life right now? What's the one skill that would open the most doors? What's the single habit that, if practiced consistently, would lead to the most positive transformation? Start there. Focus your energy on that one area. Remember, you don't need to do everything at once. You just need to begin. Read that first book. Have that honest conversation. Make that first internal shift. As the old saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. In your journey of becoming, it begins with a single intentional choice. Here's the beautiful part. Once you begin to change, your life begins to change with you. As you grow, you'll begin to attract new people, new opportunities, and new experiences. Those new circumstances will challenge you to keep evolving, which leads to even greater growth. And that growth attracts even more abundance. It becomes a powerful upward spiral of becoming and attracting. But none of it begins until you embrace one powerful truth. You attract what you are, not what you want. When you internalize that principle, you stop wasting your energy on wishful thinking and start investing that energy in becoming who you were meant to be. And that's when the transformation begins, not just in your outer world, but within your soul. Let me leave you with this thought. The greatest gift you will ever give yourself is the decision to commit to lifelong growth. Not just for recognition, not to collect things or titles, but for the deeper, more meaningful purpose of becoming your highest self. To fulfill the potential that was placed within you. To make your unique, irreplaceable contribution to the world. Because when you focus on becoming all that you're capable of being, you naturally begin to attract all that you were meant to have. Your outer reality becomes a mirror of your inner identity. Your circumstances begin to reflect your character. What you possess begins to reflect who you truly are. So, my friends, go forth and become. Become more aware. Become more intentional. Become more skilled. More loving. More generous. More courageous. Become more of everything that aligns with the life you want to attract. And trust this. When you begin transforming who you are, everything in your life will begin to transform too. Thank you for sharing this time with me today. Remember, success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. Until next time, I wish you health, happiness, and a life of purpose. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more inspiration on your journey of becoming.